morning.
This war's as stupid as our feud with Clan Grey Mane.
You and me, we're the only people around who aren't complete fools.
Yes. I study corpses. I am, after all, a priestess of ᵯᴑᴆᴆᴇᴆ. On the contrary, I'm doing independent research on the nature of death. If we can better understand how an injury or illness kills, we'll be more adept at applying a remedy. Although, given the state of the temple, I can see why you'd mistake a healer for an undertaker. I do find humor to flex the more unsavory aspects of handling bodies. For instance, in Eastmarch, there's a priestess of Arcane named Helgerd. She was a lot funnier than me. Smarter too. She could pinpoint the cause of death by studying the corpse's exterior. She could determine the time by markers of decay. Two reasons, really. The Temple of ᵯᴑᴆᴆᴇᴆ and the ample supply of bodies. It allows me to conduct my research while still upholding my duties as a priestess. Of course, the corpses here aren't the only specimens worth study. There's also the men. Plenty. You just have to ask the right questions. Sorry, that's an old necromancer joke. I couldn't resist. Basically, I need test subjects for my restoration research. The dead tell me how certain ailments work. Unfortunately, unlike exterior damage, it's difficult to pinpoint injuries and disease that happen within. You have to dissect the body and look for patterns. Then you compare the results with healthy bodies that died from more obvious wounds. I never implied my work was solely on the dead. I used to experiment on small animals. I'd make cuts in multiple locations and attempt to heal only one of the incisions. If the spell succeeded, I would compare the result to a traditional healing spell, as well as the amount of magicka required to cast it. But this presented a new dilemma. Trapping wild animals isn't as easy as opening a coffin. There's also the matter of the screaming. Animals can be quite obnoxious when cut or burned. It's as if they don't understand the concept of research. Yes, but it isn't easy for most to hear such screams coming from the Hall of the Dead. Some might think we're burying their relatives prematurely, so I was forced to conduct my experiments on a less vocal subject, myself. Twice, but only to heal myself afterwards. The problem is that so far, only one spell has been required to mend both wounds. Currently, I'm deducing the nature of poison. It seems that regardless of the substance, the body has a threshold which cannot be surpassed. This can vary depending on the substance. For instance, the toxicity of nightshade is far higher than that of jazzbay grapes. A jazzbay grape, on the other hand, can leave you susceptible to destruction magic. All things when consumed in enough quantity can kill. It is. There's a story, in fact, of a man who drank from a fountain that was rumored to restore youth. An elderly man, he consumed water from dawn until dusk, until his stomach bloated like a gourd. The sun hadn't set when the man collapsed and died. It turns out he succumbed to water poisoning. For him, water was the source of all death. Similarly, as poison is in the dose, mortality is bound to time. A simple cut, if allowed to fester, can be fatal. While some areas are more tolerant than others, preventing death is simply a matter of restoring a wound within that set window. That's why efficiency is crucial in the field. Many deaths happen because there's simply not enough time to find a healer. True, both healing spells and potions restore the body as a whole, but most of this energy seems wasted in the process. By concentrating its effects at a specific area rather than the body as a whole. For a master of restoration, sure, the point is moot. Even a grand healing spell is but a portion of their magicka reserve. But for a novice mage or spell sword, the amount saved on magicka potions alone could be substantial. I have no doubt it would, but I don't like support. And Skyrim has no shortage of test subjects. There's 3 types of research. The first is done purely for knowledge. The college mages fall into this category. The second is driven by agenda, the most common of which are money and war. Mostly money, but war's a close second. The third is altruistic, or more specifically, in service to the gods. My research follows no banner. It serves the will of the gods and the protection of all those who worship them. If my research is used for war, then I'm not to blame, even if I'm partly responsible. I trust that people are inherently good, because if mortals are corrupt, then it makes little difference what one person does. I've always had a soft spot for sailors and travelers, for whom Kinnereth is the matron. They would often visit the temples and pay homage and tend to their wounds. I marveled at these strange visitors from faraway lands, and the priestess whose touch could bind cuts, soften bruises, and solder bones. But what intrigued me most of all was the concept of pain. It was pain that brought these men to the temple first, and the tavern second. The smart ones anyway. The others came too when the ale failed to cure them. Not one of my best. In any case, the point is this. Injury did not eventuate healing. Pain did. Without it, there's nothing to alert us of danger. The goddess of the heavens, the winds, the elements, and the unseen spirits. They say the rain itself is her tears, as she mourns the death of her husband Lorcan, the god who created the mortal world. And when her sadness is gentle, her tears will replenish, but when her sorrow is deep, the valleys will flood. Remember that the next time you defy her will. Trolls savagely beat a man near Chilfaro Farm. He died, but not before they managed to gnaw off half his face. And before you ask, no, it wasn't Nazim. A bard was attacked on the road simultaneously by an angry bear and a hive of bees. It seems they knew all about him and his honeyed words. An archer in the bannered mare mocked Uthgard's figure. She proceeded to pummel him to death. Sense was not an arrow he had in his quiver. A courier was found dead on the road west towards Rorikstead. On him was a letter. He didn't say who from. A summoner attempted to conjure up one of the guards a warm bed. They both burned to death. Guards have been telling travelers to watch the skies. In the past 2 weeks, 2 separate adventurers have been felled by mudcrabs. All right then.
We are trespassing. Friend, this is an animal home.
I spend so much time among the dead, I sometimes forget how much I miss the company of the living.
How can I help you?